Bolden, thank you for, and would you prefer that I refer you as Ms. Bolden, Ms. Day, which one would you
That's
prefer?
fine. Ms. Bolden is fine.
What I wanted to ask, because I know the memorial launch of the foundation is coming up on Saturday. What do you want to come from that foundation? Like, what's the goal for the foundation?
The goal of the foundation is for us to be able to provide resources, assistance, exposure, and those things that I didn't receive in my search for Jelani, and while I've been looking for answers as to what has happened to him. My goal is to be able to help other families, mothers, fathers, other minority families that have to face the disparity that we've had to face. I want to help bridge that gap. I want to help them, like I said, provide the resources, whether it's financial or getting activists involved, getting them in touch with media. Whatever I've learned and the people that I've made contact with, I want to be able to use those resources to help others.
Yeah, so pretty much improve their experience given what you've seen.
I don't know if I will call it an improvement, but I want to make sure that the hurdles that I had to jump over and go through, the obstacles that I've been facing, that I can at least, if I can help them prevent having to jump over those hurdles or prevent those obstacles for them, I can at least be a bridge to help them through those things.
Now, it's also a memorial too. We're gonna let this train go by. We might have to do that a few times, given that so much.
That's fine. I've done about 4 interviews out here, so yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And how do you want Jelani to be remembered along with the foundation?
I want them to recognize Jelani, and I want you to know that his life mattered. That's the whole purpose behind me keeping on putting his name out there. Jelani mattered. When this was all when this first started this time last year, nobody was listening to me. No, I didn't get the media coverage. I didn't get the assistance from the authorities. I didn't get any of that. And then I saw Gabby Petito on TV and how she had law enforcement everywhere, the FBI, local law enforcement. Everybody was out there looking for her and searching for her. The media was on it. You saw her all over social media. You saw her all over the news. Anywhere that you went, it was plastered. The radios were talking about her. At the same time, my son was missing. It was important to me as well as it was important to her family to find her. That was just as important to me. So to see the disparity, especially in Jelani's case, where he just vanishes off the face of the earth, and there are no cameras anywhere that can locate him. His phone is turned off. There's nothing in this day and age of technology. Apple can't help me. The cameras can't help me. Nobody is helping me. So to me, that's unfair. We were treated unfairly. We were not given the same. We weren't on the same level field as, if he was a young white male, then it looks like it would have been treated differently versus him being who he was, which was a young black male. They stereotyped my son. They stereotyped him by his car. They stereotyped him by the place that he lived. They didn't try to find him. They were trying to figure out what things they could find out about him instead of finding him. And that is unfair to me. That was unfair to him, because who knows if in those 72 hours that it took to find Gabby Petito, that the FBI were looking for her, what if I had that same opportunity and in those 72 hours I could have found my son? Maybe he could have been alive. I wouldn't have had to wait 19 days after they find a dead body to identify. I wouldn't have to go through any of that.
Because what was it that they were trying to pin him against him? Because, obviously, Jelani Day, doing well for himself, graduate, student, going into, a doctor, correct?
Mm-hmm. He was studying to be a speech pathologist. He was in graduate school. He wanted to become a doctor.
And given that he had so much positive working for him,
Mm-hmm.
What was it that they were trying to make out of his image?
The car he drove, how could he have a car? And he was a student. There have been speculations about where he lived at. I had seen somewhere out there on social media where they looked up his apartment building where he was residing at, and they talked about how could he afford to live there because the rent ranged from $1,100 to $1,500 a month. Because he smoked marijuana. Everything that's associated with a young black male. Did he sell drugs? Was he involved in anything criminal? Those are the stereotypes they put toward Jelani. I've always told my sons they had 2 strikes against them. They were black and they were a male. So it was always the push for them to be good at everything they did because already society looks at them as to being inferior. I would never have thought that in a life and death issue like this, that he would still be being looked at that way.
And I also wanted to touch on that Gabby Petito. So I'm glad that you touched on that because it ties in to that visit with the Peru Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. But walk me through Jelani as a person because I saw videos of him cracking jokes and hugging his siblings and just overall being this life of the party.
He loved his family. He loved me. He loved his dad. He loved his siblings. They are all so tight. He loved his friends. Jelani was family oriented. He believed in God. He was focused and driven. He was just fun to be around. He loved to laugh. He loved to play. He loved to eat. Jelani was just Jelani. Jelani was a great young man. He was so helpful. He was kind. He was loving. Jelani was just so much. He meant so much to so many people, but he means the world to me. He means the world to me. So, like I said, it's like as if I can't let you forget about him. I can't let anybody forget about him. Jelani's death will not be in vain. Whatever happened to him, there's a purpose behind it. There is a purpose behind it. Why God chose him, why he chose me, I don't know. But I'm going to fulfill the purpose. Jelani will make a change. He will make a difference. I knew he was going to do it for himself while he was walking on this earth. And so since he's not walking the earth now, I'm going to make sure he does it in his absence.
And I just want to check one more thing on my camera, just make sure we all good. Because sometimes, these devices, they get to tripping up and all of that. And I just, don't want to make sure, I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
Okay.
But, Ms. Day, when you look back on all that has happened, with the disparities, with the investigation, and then, you also launching the foundation, everything, in between that, what comes to mind?
I don't know. My mind is everywhere. Like I said, life keeps life, and so I have to deal with everything that happens in life. We've lost his dad. There's been so many changes in my life within this past year. Jelani's not here. My daughter is getting ready to go off and be in a whole nother state away from me again, and life just keeps happening, right? In the process of life happening, I have to still look for answers as to what happened to my son. And still, in the process of me doing that, I'm still coping with that loss, dealing with that grief, trying to function every day. And even through that, I'm still trying to make sure that he's not forgotten. And that was one of the things that helped birth the foundation. So I had to get involved in that to make sure that got off the ground. And that is becoming a vision, I'm just moving. I'm just, like I said, I'm functioning to try to make sure that Jelani's memory, that his legacy, and that his life is not forgotten. And while I'm doing that, while I'm being busy with the foundation, I'm waiting for the answers as to what happened to him.
Given that you all have been as persistent as you've been, and just the disparities that you faced, what do you think it would have looked like had you all just put the word out and just leave it to investigators and police to do their thing?
There would not have been any searches. There would not have been any answers. They wanted me to, initially they wanted me to accept the whole suicide, that theory. You know, in order for them to even start looking for Jelani, they did tell me in the beginning, they don't do that unless they feel like somebody is they're going to put their life in danger. I was desperate. I was very desperate during that time, and I told him, if you want me to say that Jelani was going to do something to himself, if that's going to make you get up and go look for him, then okay, I'll say that. That didn't help. None of that helped. So, again, I say, with the disparity, Jelani is black. Jelani is a black male. Jelani was a 25-year-old black male that smoked marijuana. Jelani was a 25-year-old black male that not only smoked marijuana, but he had a life. I mean, he had fun, he had friends, he partied.
Doctor.
And also, behind that, my son was very educated. He was smart. He was goal-driven. He wasn't out in the streets just doing any and everything. But instead of focusing on him as a person, they wanted to focus on everything else that had nothing to do with looking for him.
And these are the officials trying to give reason, to paint him in a different way.
Yeah, they actually sat down with me and they said, Miss Carmen or Miss Bolden, we've asked, everything that we've heard about Jelani has been nothing but good. We couldn't find anything bad about him. And my response was, why are you looking for something bad instead of looking for him? Why are we looking for anything bad? What is him being bad? What does that matter at this point? He's missing. All we need to be doing is focus on finding him. And then we need to find out the reason why we can't find him. Not if he's done anything wrong or anything bad, or you're questioning his character and all of that. Let's look for him.
And Ms. Day, I want to touch on, first of all, is there any update that investigators have given you in the last few weeks?
They haven't given me any updates in the last 12 months. There have been no updates. Every update that I find out about has never came from the police department. It's always came from the public. I found out that Jelani's car got moved from Bloomington to Peru. I found that out on social media. The police didn't notify me. When his phone was found, I found that out on social media. The police didn't notify me. Just last week when I went to Peru and I wanted to see his car, they never called me and told me we've had his car outside for 3 weeks or however many weeks they've had it outside. I just happened to show up and there his car was outside.
Just chilling.
Just chilling. His car is outside. There's all sorts of items, articles, things that could be looked at as evidence. This is a major piece of evidence. Everything in Jelani's car should have been a major piece of evidence. That stuff is still in the car. It's not bagged, tagged, numbered, put it in an evidence report, nothing. And they didn't have his car in a secured area because they told me that the secured area, they didn't have room. But when I go to the secured area, there's nothing there. Nothing. The secured area is wide open, empty spots where his car should have been.
Because given that this is a huge piece of evidence
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sitting out just for anybody to come do whatever to it, you know.
I mean, it's in a fence at the police department, but who is to say that anybody can't climb over the fence? Who is to say, I mean, when they took the tarp off his car, there's evidence tape on the car, on all 4 doors.
Was it that red tape?
It's the red tape.
Okay.
All the evidence tape is broken. The last date on the evidence tape is December of 2021. Keep in mind, his car, according to them, his car has been outside for 3 weeks. According to them, the FBI has went through his car. Illinois State Police has went through his car. Now his car has been moved from one place to another. Now I'm finding out his car is not in a secured area anymore, but it's moved outside. So somebody had to be going in and out of his car, right? There should be, protocol is, evidence tape should be on there each and every time, dated and initialed, right? Not so. Not in this case. Not so.
So, having seen those items,
Mm-hmm.
and then having seen that the car hasn't been dated since December of last year, and just overall knowing that there's evidence sitting in the car, but also knowing that there's not an update that they can give you, how do you think that reflects on Peru Police Department and any other agency that's involved?
Number one, it shows me again how important this case is to them, which shows me that it's not important at all. The reflection shows me that they do piss poor police work. I'm dealing with a bunch of Barney Fife police officers, point blank period. Jelani's car was found on August the 26th. Even on that day, I wasn't even notified that his car was found. I wasn't notified that his car was found until 9:30 at night from the police. But they found his car at 4:20 in the afternoon on that day. I wasn't notified for 5 hours. The only reason I knew that his car had been found, the director who reported him missing had sent me a text message and asked me, did you see this? That's the only way I knew his car had been found. I've never, in the history of this whole thing that's been going on with Jelani, have they done right by us at all. I tried to be the nice, non-combative, non-argumentative black woman in this whole thing because, again, they would label me, which is what they're doing now, because now the fight is on. I don't care what they think about me anymore. They've done nothing to help me. During this process, I've had the Bloomington police chief sit down and tell me that one day I'm going to thank him. The audacity of the things that have been said to me.
That is outrageous.
So this has been, and this week has been a very trying week. This week marks the actual week. Today is Wednesday. On this day last year, I worked. I got up that morning. I was feeling good because I was going to go on vacation coming up Saturday. Went to work. I look back on my memories on Facebook. I had been playing and laughing and joking with everybody all day long. Got off of work that day, went to go get my hair done. About 5:30 that night, while I'm sitting there in that chair getting ready to get my hair done, my son calls me. He says, Mama, the police are here looking for Jelani. I never knew that that was going to be the night that my whole entire life changed. I never knew that that Monday would have been the last time I talked to my child. I never knew that. A year later, I still wouldn't even know what happened to him. So, it's frustrating to know that people who have taken a job to protect and serve or didn't even do their job. They're still not doing their job.
I know that that can be a tough pill to swallow, and I'm only asking this because this is something that we have to do. But I know they haven't been much help. But what could be done, to bring any sort of peace going forward?
Right now, at this point, I don't know what would bring peace, but I do know that I can't have the same people doing the same thing because all I want to do is get the same results. I need a different set of eyes on this case. That is why I've been imploring and I need the FBI to become involved. I need different people to look at everything that involved Jelani's disappearance. I need them to look at all the evidence, because as long as I got the same people doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same results. I've got the same people questioning the same people, and because they feel like, for whatever reason, these people are not people of interest, Carmen, that's where we're stopping at. When I'm pointing out things, when I'm showing them different things, when I provided them with evidence and they've lost it, when they've done everything possible to me to show me that they don't care about this case, either they're hiding something for somebody or they're trying to cover up for themselves because they didn't do their job. I need somebody else to come in and take over this case. I've requested that. I'm still requesting that. If anybody from the FBI is listening to this, I need the FBI involved. I need them. It's a must that they do. There has to be some checks and balances for the police officers. The police officers shouldn't be able to do a negligent job and not have to be accountable for it.
I think that just about wraps up us having this talk, but thank you, Ms. Bolden. I did want to just cross off one more thing because you kind of touched on it earlier. Given that Gabby Petito's case had been addressed, like we discussed, with full-on effort, how do you see Jelani's case going unsolved, being that it is unsolved compared to Gabby Petito having all of that effort provided?
How do I see it?
Those two compared.
Jelani didn't get he wasn't afforded any of the resources. He wasn't afforded any of the accessibility. He wasn't afforded any of the efforts that Gabby Petito and her family was afforded. We didn't get any of that. If we had gotten that, who knows if I wouldn't have found my son alive. Or I could have, the same way her family had her within 72 hours, I could have had my child within 72 hours. Then maybe his body wouldn't have been so severely decomposed. I wouldn't have been robbed of the chance of viewing him. I wouldn't have been robbed of the chance of not having and knowing that people who, again, I say, have taken on a job to protect and serve, that they know what this task involves. I wouldn't have been robbed of that opportunity that these people did their best at finding out what happened to my child. But I was robbed of all of that. I was robbed of all of that. Now, I have to honor my child. I have to honor the legacy of my child, the life of my son. And that's what we're going to do this weekend on Saturday at 5 p.m. in Bloomington. That's where Jelani's foundation, the Jelani Day Foundation, will be launched. His website will go live. And we are asking people to attend, to support us. And if you can support, if you go to the website, thejelanidayfoundation.org, there is a donate button. We are soliciting donations because, of course, in order for me to assist individuals and help them, it does take money. And so I want to use those funds to be able to help somebody, because there were people out there that helped me. And if I can be impactful, that's what I want to do.